All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Money and Stuff. Hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Sam Rodriguez. I'm a certified financial planner. With me is Conor Shepard, also part of my company, Foundation Wealth Partners. How's it going today, Conor?
It is going great, Sam. Living life, loving it.
Yeah, awesome. So if you guys have not listened to us before, the name of this podcast is Money and Stuff, right? Again, mostly about money, but we kind of wanted to leave it open to talk about other things. So we wanted to throw stuff in there. Today, I think it is a little bit of both, right? It's mostly about money, but there's a little bit of stuff in there as well. And Conor, I know you and I were talking earlier and said, man, we should really save this stuff for the podcast. You know, we were talking about how we don't realize what we're doing every time we make a decision to spend money, and not only spend money, but just every time money leaves your hand, right? I think I said that, every time money leaves your hand, it's an investment. So I wanted to, I guess, just talk a little bit more about that and kind of keep the conversation going.
Yeah, where did that come from? What got us talking about that?
I think I think it started with budgeting. Was it budgeting? Were we talking about like why it's
Yeah.
tough to stick to a budget? Right. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Because I was saying, you know, we talk to a lot of people that they make a pretty good income and they have savings ability, but for some reason can't ever get in a place where they consistently save. They just can't seem to stop overspending, right?
hmm
And I think everybody's solution is, well, I'm really gonna, nail down what my expenses are and try to stick to that. And then I'm gonna save the rest. And it's just very constrictive and it's hard to do and it fails most of the time. And then what people do is say, well, budget in some fun, right? But even that starts to feel constrictive and ends up failing. And I think the reason that it fails is we don't just, I mean, don't get me wrong, a budget is an important piece of it. You got to know what your expenses are compared to your income. But I think a really big piece of it is there's got to be kind of a mental, psychological / emotional shift in how you think about how you spend your money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really why I was saying, like, you got to think of every time money leaves your hand, you got, if you can begin to think of it as an investment, right? Like
Yeah.
every time you are going to put your money somewhere, whether you're spending it or giving it away, whatever, saving it, that know that you are making an investment.
Yeah. So, I mean, help us understand a little bit, I guess. Like when you say that, you're talking about having a mindset almost in terms of anytime someone is going to go spend money or put money towards some sort of interest, to have an outlook or a lens of see that spending as an investment. I mean, what do you mean exactly?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What do I mean? So, so what I'd say is, first of all, say it's not easy, right? Just like everything else, it's a habit that has to be formed over time, and before you know it, you'll start doing it unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
But thinking about why you are doing what you're doing, right? Like,
hmm
why am I spending my money? Why am I giving my money? Whatever it is, right? Like if you, let's say you're charitably inclined and you give money, right? Like that's probably the easiest example. If you give money to a certain charity or a certain organization, it is probably because you believe in that charity or that organization or what it is that they're doing, right? It's important
hmm
to you. So you're making an investment into that organization, which in turn makes an investment into bettering whatever it is that's important or to them
Yeah.
or to you, right? Or it could be completely selfish, right? You could be only donating to charity to get some sort of tax deduction, in which case it's still an investment into your taxable income situation, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably the easiest example of what I mean by when money leaves your hand, it's an investment.
Okay. And I mean, because I think we might have talked about this earlier, but when you say that, are you talking just, investing like you were saying, putting money towards charity, buying a car, obviously buying a home, or I mean, is it larger to a certain, at a certain point that you cut it off and say, hey, these smaller purchases are not relevant enough to play into that? Or is it everything from that wonderful Jersey Mike sub that I'll get to the Porsche?
Yeah. So, so I would say it's everything, right? It is everything. And that I hesitated a little bit because I think that sounds ridiculous, but I really do think it's everything. You mentioned some obvious things like a house, right? Like we think of a house as an investment because it can appreciate in value, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about the other things that you're making an investment in when you purchase your house, you can see how even smaller purchases go along the same lines of thinking. So you think about purchasing your house. What are the other investments you make in purchasing your house, right? You're making an investment into, the protection of yourself or your family, by giving yourself shelter.
Yeah.
Right. If you really enjoy your neighborhood, right? Like there are things near you that you enjoy doing, there are neighbors that you really enjoy spending time with, then you're making an investment into your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we can think about big purchases like that in different terms of investment, right? Because we always think of investment money wise.
Yeah.
What can this do to grow? What can but it's also, how do I make other areas of my life better as well?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we take that same mindset or that same way of thinking, we can take it all the way down to your Jersey Mike's, your lowly Jersey Mike's purchase of a sub.
Ooh, just sweet, delicious, giant number 13.
If anybody ever listens to this, you're suddenly going to get flooded with free Jersey Mike's, right?
Yeah, we are not sponsored by Jersey Mike's.
Yeah. So let's consider Jersey Mike's, right? Or any food purchase for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say you go to Jersey Mike's for lunch, right? What other choices did you have, right? So what other restaurants could you have supported? So maybe you go to Jersey Mike's because you believe in their company culture, right? Like that could be a reason why you go
Mm-hmm.
you go and you support Jersey Mike's, right? It could just be that you really love their subs, and in that case, you're just making an investment into sort of your momentary happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you enjoy their subs. They bring you a little bit of joy in the middle of your day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be other things. It could be an investment into your time.
Yeah.
Right? Because your other choice is, maybe Jersey Mike's just happens to be next to your office. So it's an investment in your time to just go right there, get it, get back in the office and eat at your desk.
Gosh, I wish.
Or, it could be, to think about another alternative, what if you were going to bring your lunch from home to work every day?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe you don't have the time to make your lunch every day. So it's still an investment in your time to go and eat, go pick up lunch.
Yeah.
Right. But you think conversely, what if you did make your own meals every day? Right. You could be making an investment into your monthly budget by not
Mm-hmm.
spending as much. Or maybe you could be deciding that you are eating healthier and you want to make sure you know the ingredients that you're putting into your body. And so you're making an investment into your health by spending more time making a meal, right? Spending more money on groceries so you can make your own meals. So yeah, your investment into Jersey Mike's can mean several things, however crazy that investment is.
Yeah. And all in between, from that sub to the house. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like a good condensing of all that is, it's stepping away from what I think is the much more common way of viewing, investing as just related to anything monetary, taking a step back and recognizing, you when you make a decision to spend money, there are multiple angles to that investment beyond just the money involved, the emotional benefit, like you were saying, the just enjoyment of being able to get the food that you want to have at that moment, getting whatever it is. There are other non-monetary related currencies that you could be putting into that. Like that.
But it helps with the monetary aspect. So, to stick on going out to eat as a subject, that really is a big part of where we see people overspending if they are overspending, right? And I think, you kind of have to ask yourself, why do I go out to eat so much, right? Like, I honestly used to eat. There used to be, my office used to have a Sonic next door.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right. So almost every day I would eat either a foot-long coney dog, tater tots, and a Coke, or a double cheeseburger, double bacon cheeseburger with tater tots and a Coke. Every once in a while, I'd mix it up, throw some fries in there. Right. That was about 7 years of a bad investment choice for me. But, at some point you got to stop yourself and ask, like, why am I doing this every day? Right. Like I'm overspending on lunch in something that's not good for me. Why am I really doing it? Right. Especially if you have more time to invest. So, if you're sitting at home every night and binge watching Netflix or Hulu or whatever, then you probably have 30 minutes to invest in making a meal that you could take with you to work. So that way you don't eat a bacon cheeseburger every day. No, I should say, if I didn't get a Coke, I would get a milkshake. Does that make it any better?
Probably not. Probably not.
Right. So, so there's choices you have to make, but a lot of times those things we overspend on, if we can stop and think to ourselves, why am I really doing this? Is this bettering my life in any way? Or could I make a different decision that would better my life? Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times bettering those decisions you make to better your life have financial benefits as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like, now I'm really curious. Now I kind of want you to just throw things at me and let's see if we can find out what kind of investments we make when we make those purchases.
Well, yeah, I want to almost rope it back, and I think we've already almost started answering what I'm about to ask, but you started off what you were saying with, you have to ask yourself, what am I investing in? If somebody is going to start applying this way of thinking and this way of viewing spending, what are some just easy mental questions that they can ask themselves to sort of, I guess, get into the habit and, condition themselves to get to that point where it is an automatic review process, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I see what you're asking. So first, I would say it would be best if you had a budget first. And when I say a budget, I don't mean like a constraint on your spending as much as I mean have an idea of what you have to spend every month, right? Like what are the things that are the necessities, right? Like you got to make your rent or your mortgage payment. If you have a car payment, you've got to keep your lights on, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that way, what the extra really is to spend. And then, some easy questions. First of all, would be like, is this a want or a need?
Okay.
Right? Because a need implies investment into something already, right?
Yeah.
That it's gonna solve a problem.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's a want, then you say, okay, well, what does this want better my life in some way? Right. And the thing with the wants, like, it's okay to spend money on wants, but what's not okay is to constantly spend money on wants. Right.
Yeah. Without thinking about it at all.
Yeah. Because, the thing about the wants is sometimes you just have to make an investment into your happiness. Right. Sometimes things make you happy, right? Sometimes I'm laughing. I'm thinking about the double cheeseburger because I only mentioned the double cheeseburger thing because I stopped doing it. Right? I started eating better. I needed to, right? Like, but one day I was leaving the office at lunch and I was going to run home, and I called my wife, and I asked her if she wanted me to pick her up anything for lunch, because I was going to pick something up for lunch. And she kept naming all these places. And I was like, no, no, no. And because she wasn't picking the things that I wanted. And finally, I stopped her and I said, look, we're going to have to eat from two different places. And she, well, why don't you just get something from where I want to get it, is what she asked. Right. And I had to admit to her that I just wanted to eat something really terrible for me that day. Right. Like, I hadn't indulged in that way in a while. It was kind of a tough day. And I had, in my mind, said, you know what? You're going to treat yourself to a double bacon cheeseburger and a milkshake. Right. And I wanted my wife to pick a place where I could get that from, but she wasn't. So I had to say, okay, I'm okay going two different places to get lunch, but right now, I'm going to eat this no matter what. Like, that was on that day, it was probably like an investment in my comfort, right? It had been a tough day. I just wanted something that, I don't know, for whatever reason, something terrible for me felt like it was going to make me feel better. So,
well, and I think it's important, tying it back to what you were saying, it's the fact that you recognize that you didn't just say, you know what, we're just going to go eat here, without recognizing she wanted something healthy. You wanted to go somewhere that by design didn't provide anything healthy.
That's right.
And it's that being able to identify when that's the case, identify your own actions as far as, oh, I'm recognizing it may not be good for me, but that's why I'm doing it.
Right. So an aspect of food, right? The need versus the want, like, food is automatically a need, right? And then your want comes in, like, do I want to eat healthy, or do I just want to eat something that tastes delicious? And that day, my want was something delicious, and it overrode my actual need of continuing to eat healthy, right? But, you mentioned a car a second ago, and a car is an interesting one, right? I think depending on where you live is how to view that investment, right? Like, we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, right? In this area, you need a car, right? You've got to travel, you've got to hop in your car to go anywhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so,
even in the city in Dallas and Fort Worth, it is spread.
Yeah, there's not a lot of neighborhoods that are walkable, right?
Yeah.
Are walkable, that walkable enough to get everything you need, right?
Yeah.
And so, an investment into a car is absolutely necessary because you need to access things. But I think also, like, an investment into your car, and the upkeep on your car is an investment. If your car is your primary way of getting to your job, so that way you can earn income, so that way you can provide for yourself and your family, and you can continue to save, and you can make other financial decisions, you have to have that car and you have to maintain it, right? So those are all investments, right? And then but then that sounds very utilitarian, right? Like, well, then just get any car that'll get you from point A to point, right? So then you start thinking about the other investments that you're making, right? Like, maybe you get a nicer car because you have a long commute and you want something that, makes you feel good as you're in traffic for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right. Another one of those instances where you may be making a purchase to bring a little bit more joy to your life. But on the flip side of that, if you've stretched your budget to make this purchase of this nicer car, is the joy that you derive from having that car going to be overridden by the anxiety and stress you have trying to make that payment every month?
Yeah.
Right. So you've made an investment, but is the cost of that investment too high?
Yeah.
Right.
Costs that you didn't have prior to that purchase. So, along with, hey, I may be happier in that hour and a half sitting in traffic. But before I had this car, I sure wasn't sweating bullets looking at my payments.
And I got an hour and a half of traffic to figure out where I'm going to hide my car so they can't repossess it from me, right? You don't need that kind of stress. Yeah. So what else, man? Unless if you don't have any other questions, like throw some things at me. Let's talk through it. Let's talk about like the different kinds of investments there are.
Okay. This is just off the top of my head. We live in Texas, so it is a lot more common, I think, to see pools and, hot tubs, pools. But I know when I lived up in Barrington, Illinois, shouts out, my dad built a hot tub pretty much from scratch, but
like your dad built it, not had
my dad.
Your dad
my dad. My dad built it. Him and our neighbor Bill Atkin, shouts out. They built the entire frame. I don't know enough about technology or engineering to know if they built the wiring of the filter, but they built the wood frame, everything. It was
I've never heard of anybody building a hot tub besides a hot tub manufacturer.
Yep. It was redwood, nice, round. I'll have to get details from him. Talk to you about it.
So anyway,
but yeah, so like it's a lot more common, I think, here in Texas for people to have the pool and stuff, but we don't have basements. So as a broad option or a broad idea for an investment, what about just, those expansions on a home, whether it's a pool, whether it's a hot tub, whether it's getting a basement built? I feel like there's probably a major cost difference between those, but
so let's talk about the pool, because that seems less utility and more fun, right?
Yeah.
So, the thing everybody always says is, the money you spend on a pool, you're never going to get back, right?
Yeah.
Like the money you spend doesn't increase your home value enough that if you sold your home, you'd get the money back. And that may or may not be true, right? Like, I think it depends on the area that you're in as to whether or not that's true. But so financially, maybe that's not really, from an investment standpoint, the best investment, right? But, in talking with, I personally do not have a pool. I got to be careful with what I say. And if my wife listens to this, and if I side too much on the pool being a strength, we're going to have a pool before you know it. But, in talking with people who do have pools, there are several reasons that they got them, right? And a lot of them, they saw it as an investment into their family.
Mm-hmm.
They have kids and they want not only for their kids to have something to do, but they want to keep their kids close, right? Like my son is now 13 and he's starting to want to spend more time with his friends and less time with me. So, it's like, well, if my kids are going to be spending time with their friends, I'd rather all of them spend that time here, right? So it's an investment in their kids. It's an investment in your own peace of mind, because your kids are, you can see your kids, you can keep an eye on your kids, right? You don't have to worry about what they're doing. I have thought about it just because my brother doesn't live that far away. And so I thought of it as, when I say not far away, it's just a few minutes away, as an investment in, our families sort of coming together. And, he's got kids, it'd be a good reason for them to show up and hang out and us to spend time together, right? So that goes back to the investment of happiness and joy, right? So that's spending money on a pool beyond just the financial aspects. It's an investment, right?
Nice. Sounds like you're getting a pool.
Right. So maybe 5 more years he's going to be in the house. And in my mind, I'm like, but what about after that? What are we going to do? We're just going to fill it back in with dirt and, so I don't know, man. What else? What else?
I mean, I'm sure a common one across the board, no matter really where you live, if you've got, the ability to do it, or you have the space in your home. I know my parents put in a theater room a few years back, and, that That I know is a pretty common thing, is some form of a media room. So, I mean, whether that's,
Your
you know,
dad
just
build it?
we built a lot of it, not the TV, but we built the back wall frame
Did
and
he
all that stuff.
did he hand make a projector instead of buying one?
Hey, you know what? No, but
Come on, Dad, you built a hot tub. You could do this.
I really hope I am not like overstating that, because I watch me go after this, talk to my dad on the phone, and him just, oh no, Connor, you just never saw the guy who was there every day building the hot tub.
You contracted a guy who would build it during the day.
He just dressed like us.
Yeah, he was not my friend. He was just a guy. Yeah, so a theater room, yeah, I mean, it's almost the exact same thing as a pool, right? And especially nowadays when movies are starting to stream at the same time they're at the theater.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like a
You know?
very recent change. That probably would be a bigger factor than ever before.
Yeah, the cost difference is enormous, right? You go to the movies, and it's not just the cost of the ticket, but I mean, sometimes it's a little bit of time, right? Because you're going to travel to and from the theater, but the popcorn is outrageous, right?
Oh yeah, that's where they make their money. I worked in a movie theater in high school.
Oh yeah. So we may have never talked about that. Like I worked at a movie theater for a long time in college, and I actually was the general manager of a movie theater. Right.
Nice.
So I understand the cost benefit to the movie theater, but yeah, you know, so it can be, that's a financial and again, a family, you know, happiness type of investment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh my gosh, I was having some thought about the theater and I cannot remember what it was. Oh, you know what? I know what it was. You know, going to the theater. Let's talk about just deciding to go to the movies instead of staying home and watch a movie.
Yeah.
I love going to the movies, right? Like I'm okay spending the extra money on popcorn. I'm okay spending the extra money on a soda, getting a pickle, like all these different things. I like the experience.
Getting a pickle.
Yeah. Like,
all right. Okay.
Like,
I'll just move past that one.
I do not like the stomach ache I have when I get home, but you know, all of the things that come with going to the theater, I really enjoy, right? Like I like being there before it starts and seeing, you know, the different slides and the trivia that comes up on the screen. I like seeing the previews of the movies that are going to come out. I like the lights when they dim, right? Like I like the experience.
I was going to say, you're investing in the experience. You're investing in those little things that all together add up to the experience that you every single one is like, that is another enjoyment. That's another enjoyment.
Yeah. And, you know, I honestly am, you know, as things begin to open back up, will probably, even though some of these movies are going to be available to us here at the house, I will probably still go to the movies to it, because
definitely
if things change so much that more people are watching movies at home than going to the theater, it's going to make me really sad, right? I want these theaters to stay open.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to spend extra money and go there now, so that way, hopefully, I can continue to go to the movie theater for the rest of my life, right? Like maybe hopefully they stay open. And that's, you know, to think of that bigger, where you spend your money and what companies you spend your money with, that's also an investment. You know, if there are companies that you like what they stand for, you know, their company culture, the good things that those companies do with their profits, whatever it is, right? Like spending your money with those companies for even the things that you want or need or things that you're going to spend anyway, it's an investment into that company and the things that they do. And the same thing, like there may be companies that you hate, you know, so don't spend your money there, right? Spend your money, you know, invest your money in, you know, whether you buy products from them and buy their stock, whatever it is, like you support them. I know like small business, right? Small businesses based in your community, like that's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Right? So like I like to eat at restaurants that are locally owned.
Yeah.
Right. Something that someone had a dream about, you know, and decided I want a restaurant that does this. and they took the chance and they decided to open it up and decided to go at it alone versus maybe opening up a chain. I like to support those restaurants. I feel like that's an investment back into the community. I feel like it's an investment into the entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yeah.
I want to see those things continue. And even during COVID, I did the same thing. I made several investments, right? So, when everything got shut down during COVID, the tough thing was all the gyms shut down, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to make an investment into gym equipment. And so, part of my garage is now dedicated gym equipment, right? So that way I could continue my workout routine to undo a lot of what happened over 7 years of eating double cheeseburgers and
I was just
milkshakes
gonna
every
say, you
day.
gotta.
That's right. I had to keep that up, right? So it was an investment I made into my health, right?
Mhm.
But one of the things that I did is the gym, it happens to be a CrossFit gym that I was going to, is owned by a couple here locally. And I mean, they are just some of the nicest, most genuine, best people I've ever met in my life, right?
Mhm.
They genuinely, their heart is to help people and to help people through fitness, right? Like everybody is welcome at their gym if you are wanting to better yourself, right? And they help as much as they possibly can. I continued to pay my full gym membership because I wanted to support them,
Mhm.
right? Like I not only, one, I wanted to support a small local business, but you know, people that are kind, right? People that are genuine, I also want to support,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to know that when things opened back up, that they were able to still stay in business and accept their clientele back when things opened up. I wanted them to still be here. So I
Mhm.
continued to pay full gym membership, even though they offered for, I mean, they were so nice. Like they obviously they let everybody suspend their membership if they wanted to. Even though like every day they were still making investments into us, right? Like they were sending us texts, emails, and videos every day of workouts we could do at home with no weights.
Wow.
Yeah. So, man, I like, the different businesses where you spend your money are an
Yeah.
investment, right?
Yeah. And I think it's, a way of looking at it. You're by being selective, and applying that lens of scrutiny, I guess, for lack of a better word, on which companies you're putting your money towards and spending your money with. It's a way of investing in your beliefs, investing in ethics, behavior that you endorse, that you support, that especially with something like that, it's investing in people who have a mindset or act in a way that you admire, that you think is very, very beneficial, and that you want to support them through that way of investment. I think that's a great way of looking at it.
Well, we got to realize the power of our spending, right? Like how we spend our dollars can collectively make a tremendous difference,
Yeah.
right? So, you have Walmart, Amazon have come along and allowed us to get things extremely quickly and extremely inexpensively, right? The downside to that is small businesses that have provided those things have begun to fall to the wayside, right? And so a lot of us say, man, we really want to support small business, or we want certain policies, made by our governments to support small business. But what are we doing to support small business, right? What
Yeah.
investment are we making with our spending dollars? And I'd say the majority of us probably choose to spend at the most convenient and inexpensive places,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when you make an investment into a small business, purchasing from a small business versus, say, a big box store, you are knowing that you're probably going to spend more,
Hmm.
right? So sometimes you have to make a decision on those investments, right? Am I okay spending more because I know what what I'm doing or the difference I'm making, you know, and you could even take it to a bigger level, right? You know, over the last several years, you know, a lot of people, even politicians, have campaigned on we need to bring jobs back to the United States. Right. And they speak specifically about losing manufacturing jobs. And a lot of us cheer that on and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. But what are we doing to support that? Right. If you really want manufacturing jobs to come back to the United States, then you've got to decide that that investment is worth it to you and be willing to spend a little bit more to get a product that was manufactured in the United States.
Yeah.
Right? So every time we choose the less expensive product that came from outside of the United States, we're in effect making an investment into that country and their ability to employ people, right? So sometimes those choices are tough, but you know, every time you spend money on something that's manufactured somewhere, you're making an investment into the area, you know, the place that was purchased or manufactured. Manufactured is what I meant to say. And I'm trying to think what else. Like what? Like I want something that really stumps me. Like, is it an investment? You know, maybe if anybody's listening yet, send us some questions. Yeah,
right.
Is this an investment? Right. Yeah. I don't know. But I think the main point is if we start to understand and think about what's really important to us and what we want in our own lives, what we want in our community, what we want in our country, then it becomes easier to think about how you spend your money affects those different things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not easy at first, right? Because you have to remind yourself to even think about it. But after a while, your habits will start forming and you'll automatically go like, no, I go here for that place. No, I go there for that stuff, or I go there for that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when there's something else, you'll just automatically start thinking that way every time money leaves your hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Sort of just looking at any situation of, you know, money being spent, that there are more factors in that decision than just this is money changing hands. This is why am I doing this?
Yeah. Why am I buying these clothes? Why am I buying this car? Why did I buy this house? You know, whatever it is, like, what is it that it really gets you? What am I making an investment in when I'm making this purchase?
Yeah.
Does it improve anything? Right. And those things that it does improve, are those the things that I want improved or bettered? Or do I want to place my efforts somewhere else?
Yeah.
Right. So that's it. It's really just realizing that every time money leaves your hand, right? Not just when you're spending money, but even when you're giving money away, even, you know, we already know that when you save money, you're making an investment.
Yeah.
Right. You're making an investment into your future or whatever. Right. I didn't mean to say or whatever, like it's not a big deal. Investing in your future is obviously a big deal. Right.
Yeah.
But the investment, you know, that you're making when you give money away or spend money, we don't tend to think of it as an investment, but it really is.
Yeah.
You're making some decision to, what am I trying to say? You're making a decision to maybe make it one company more profitable over another company, or to, you know, better your life in some way, maybe to give yourself back more time, maybe to bring some sort of joy to your life, maybe be able to spend more time with your family, whatever it is, it's always an investment.
Yeah. You're making a decision beyond, again, just that exchanging of hands. You're making a decision above just the spending of actual currency. It's beyond that.
Yeah, exactly, man. So if you're trying to budget and you're having a tough time with not being able to, no matter how many times you've written down a budget and tried to stick with it, you know, try to shift how you think about it. Try to shift it into, I'm making an investment every time I spend money, and decide whether or not how you're spending your money as an investment that you really want to make. That, I think that's the main point of what we were talking about, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I think that's good. Episode 4 down. Thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate you tuning in. If ever there's any questions, please let us know. Hopefully they're about money. We'll talk. We can talk about that again. If it's just about stuff, we'll try. Right.
Yeah. And if you think of anything that, you just want to hear us ramble about why it's an investment or why it isn't, just shoot us some examples, what you're wondering.
Yeah, maybe you want the specs and design specifications from Conor's dad of how to build a hot tub.
I'll get them from him. He's got the blueprints, I'm sure.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. You guys have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advice offered through Foundation Wealth Partners, a DBA of Advisor Resource Council, a registered investment advisor. Foundation Wealth Partners and Advisor Resource Council are separate entities from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.